So today we will build a nice ever-moving ambient drone in VCV, and it will sound like this. We will build it from scratch. All what I have here is a mixer, and we will start with a complex oscillator. I will use VCV from Vool. There are many things here that we can add movement to, many things we can modulate, and I will want to have the drone to stay on the note A, so I will use ref tone from Bog Audio. Right, of course, you can also manually tune the oscillators you're using, but I find it much easier just to use ref tone. In this case, it will output A4, so I will send the volt per octave, right, to the volt per octave input of VCV, and now VCV is tuned to A. Now, let's send VCV to a series of filters, and I will use the filter bank from Bog Audio, the PEQ6. And this is basically a bank of 6 filters. We have on the left, we have a low pass, then we have 4 band pass filters, and then we have a high pass filter, right? So if I send VCV to the filter bank, right, I have control over the levels of the different filters, right? And this we can use to add lots and lots of movement. I will just mute this for a second and initialize the filter bank. Right now, for adding movement, we will use caudal, also from Volt. Right, basically caudal will generate so-called random signals that we can use to add movement to many aspects of this patch. But caudal is bipolar, so it will generate signals that fluctuate between -5 and +5 volts, and I can show you this also on the scope. Right, as you can see here, you can see that it moves between -5 to +5 volts. For the filter bank, for the level inputs of the filter bank, we need unipolar signals. Right, so something we can do to fix this is use add 5 from JW. This will basically take the signal from caudal and will offset it to be unipolar. So if I use the same signal, you can see on the scope that we have the same signal, but it will stay, it will move from 0 up to +10. Right, so now I can use the 6 outputs, or I will use 6 outputs from caudal, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The scope we don't need anymore, and this will modulate or will control the levels of the filter bank. Again, now we get unipolar signals. Right. So now there is movement in the levels of the different filters. Right, maybe we can make this a bit slower. Now let's start adding also movement to VCV. So first of all, I will detune the oscillators a bit from one another. Take one a bit to the left, one a bit to the right. I will also take the second oscillator, oscillator B, an octave up. Right? And I will change the oscillator A to be a triangle. And now we can already modulate the mix, right? So in this case, I want a bipolar signal because I want the mix control to move in both directions, left and right. So I will use a signal directly from caudal, and I will map, by clicking this button, I can map the modulation to the mix and open the attenuator, and now the mix is also being modulated by caudal. Right, we can do the same to the pulse width. Again, I want the pulse width to move in both directions, so I will use again a bipolar signal. I will just map both controls, and now I can use one and another one and open the attenuator, so we have even more movement. Now let's modulate the fold and the shaper, in this case with a unipolar signal. I want them to move only in one direction, so I will map them or I will map the modulation, and now I will use two signals from the Add 5 module. Already we get more movement in the timbre. And we will modulate the offset again with the bipolar signal in this case. So we go directly from caudal. So now it moves in both directions. By the way, if you want to know more about signal flow, unipolar signals, bipolar signals, modulation, and other basics of modular synthesis, there's a link in the description to videos I made all about the basics of modular and getting hands-on with modular, so have a look if you are interested. So now we have lots of movement, and I would like to add some texture and smear the sound a bit. For this I will use granular synthesis with supercell from Grayscale, right, which will look like this. This is a Clouds clone, if you are familiar with Clouds. Right, it has also many interesting features. So first of all, I will set it to pitch shifter time stretcher mode, and already let's send the signal from the filter bank to supercell and to the output mixer. Right, so now we'll take the pitch all the way up. We have the mix at 50-50, so the dry signal will still go through, but the processed signal will be, I believe, 2 octaves up. Right. Let's take the density also all the way to the right, so it will smear the sound. I will set the buffer time to 4 seconds, so it's a bit more lo-fi. And now I'll take the space all the way up. The space is the reverb, so lots and lots of reverb. Already we get a really nice sound. Right, now I will use one output of caudal to modulate the size, the buffer size of supercell. Again, I want a bipolar signal in this case, so the size come here, let's say, modulate it a bit, and another output will go to the hold CV input, which will freeze the buffer. And now when the buffer is frozen, there will be still movement thanks to the size modulation. Maybe we can take the output signal a bit down, it's a bit too loud. Right, and now we have the shape control, which is basically to the left is a low pass filter, to the right it's a high pass filter. So I would like to modulate it so it will close a bit. Right, so I will use again a unipolar signal. I will use this one here from Add 5 and just turn that attenuator a bit to the left. So now the filter will also close, and there is also movement there. Very nice. Okay, now let's add a bass to this. I will use saws from Squinky Labs. This is a super saw oscillator that has already lots of movement built in, because there are a few different saw oscillators that are detuned from one another. Right, I will want to filter it, so I will use Feline from Valley, which is a stereo filter. In this case, we will leave it at low pass. Right, so let's do something like this, and I will send it already to the mixer. Okay, now I will tune saws to A. Again, I want to stay the note A and take it a few octaves down. Maybe add some drive. Oh yes. Now we can modulate the filter again with a unipolar signal, so this will be the starting point and the filter will go up from there. Right, so I will take another signal from the Add 5 module. Let's take the third one. open the attenuator a bit. So we have even more movement. I will take the mix all the way up, so all of the oscillators are playing, and the detune also a bit up, so there's even more movement. Okay, now I want to add even more grit to this sound. So I will use noise. I will use the noise module from VCV. Right, and I will use it to modulate the filter cutoff point at audio rates. If I add a lot, it will be a bit too gritty, so just a bit to add more roughness to the sound, I guess. Right, now, and as always, I love sending the high frequencies through a delay and lots of reverb to add space to the bass sound. So let's use the VCV VCF. This is the filter from VCV. And I will use one of the channels of Feline, let's say the left channel, doesn't matter in this case. Right, and this will go to Chronoblob 2. I will send the high pass output. Right, we have high pass and low pass. I will send the high pass output to Chronoblob 2 and also to a reverb. Of course, I will use plateau in this case. Right, now I will set the frequency of the filter to about 350 Hz, something like this. 357, let's say. So now only everything above 357 Hz, more or less, will go to the delay and the reverb. So I will set the delay to 100% wet. Right, we have already the dry signal going to the mixer. There is no need for the dry signal again in the delay. But I will take also the dry all the way out from the reverb, so the sound is nice and smeared. And also I would like later to modulate the filter of the reverb, so it will affect all of the sound and not only the wet signal. Right, so now let's do this. I will change the delay time a bit, also left and right, maybe set a ping pong delay by clicking this button here. This is the ping pong mode. Take the feedback quite up here. Add modulation for the reverb. Take the lows a bit out. Right? And now let's send this to another channel on the mixer. I will solo this for a second. Right, so this is now the signal after the filter, which takes out the lower frequencies. Right, and now I can, with this filter here, I can take out, or I can filter the low frequencies a bit, filter the high frequencies, sorry, and I can add movement. So again, I will use a unipolar signal from add 5, just to close this a bit every now and then. Already we have a really nice drone. Okay, now let's use the noise a bit more. So first of all, I will send the pink noise. Right, we have a few different outputs here. I will send the pink noise, which is a bit darker, to a bandpass filter. In this case, I'm using tangents. And from there, I will send it to the vector mixer from Nischi. It will go to input A and to input B. Right, let's send this to the mixer and I will show you, to the output mixer, and I will show you what it's doing. Now this mixer, the vector mixer, we can use to pan the sound. Right, so now it's on the left, now it's on the right. Right, and we can add movement to this pink noise, and we can also record this movement, record this modulation. So I will activate auto record. I can just record something. Right, something like this. And then activate loop and run. right? And we have this movement recorded. Of course, you can record different movements if you wish. Now let's add modulation also to the cutoff of this bandpass filter, again with the bipolar signal. Add some resonance. Maybe take the level a bit down, the main filter. So now, depending on the levels here, on the vector mixer, and if the filter is open or if the filter is more in the lower frequencies or in the higher frequencies, we will hear more or less the noise. And it will always move left and right, and also volume-wise. Right? So again, lots and lots of movement for this drone. Okay, now something I always like adding is a bit of field recordings to have even more texture and make this patch or any patch more organic. So I have a recording of some birds and passing cars, and I will use the complex simpler for that. I will just load the sample. It will be available also when you download the patch. If you want to download the patch, you can also download the sample. Right? It's this one here, but what we will do, we will take it 2 octaves down, so it will play also slower, and maybe also let it play in reverse by setting the speed to -1. Take the level up a bit, and we will send it through lots and lots and lots and lots of reverb, right? Plateau again. Let's listen to this a bit. Very nice. So from here you can do all sorts of things. You can jam on top of it. You can add an arpeggio. Add a percussive sound. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to share your results in the comments. Cheers.